welcome to today's On This Day in Tudor History with me, Claire Ridgway, author of On This Day in Tudor History, as well as a few other history books. Now, is something nice going to happen today? Unfortunately not. As is quite usual, something bad happened on this day in Tudor history. For on the 9th of November 1518, Queen Catherine of Aragon, Henry VIII's wife of 9 years, gave birth prematurely to a stillborn daughter at Greenwich Palace. On the 10th of November 1518, so the next day, Sebastian Justinian, the Venetian ambassador, reported, "In the past night, the Queen had been delivered of a daughter to the vexation of everybody. Never had the kingdom so anxiously desired anything as it did a prince." In the Sanuto diaries, a diary kept by Marino Sanuto in Venice, is the following record. The Queen had been delivered in her 8th month of a stillborn daughter, to the great sorrow of the nation at large. In her book Sister's Queen on Catherine and her sister Juana, a book that I'd highly recommend, historian Julia Fox notes mention of a payment of £4 from King Henry VIII for the carrying and recarrying of the christening font from and to Canterbury. This same christening font had been used for the christening of Princess Mary, the future Mary I, in 1516, and had been borrowed again when Henry Duke of Cornwall, had been borrowed previously when Henry Duke of Cornwall was born in 1511. Of course, Henry Duke of Cornwall didn't live very long. It had been ordered this time from Canterbury Cathedral to christen the expected prince. Everyone was hoping that this baby would be a healthy baby boy, a son and heir for Henry VIII. But of course now it was no longer needed. There's also record of the ermine-trimmed purple tissue being a very fine cloth, very expensive cloth made of a very, very fine thread of normally gold or silver. This material had been used to cover the Queen's bed during her confinement, but now it was no longer needed, and it was taken from Greenwich Palace back to Baynard's Castle, the Queen's London residence. Now, Queen Catherine must have been truly devastated by this tragic result of what was her 6th pregnancy. But Catherine did not give up hope of providing her husband with a living son. Historian Julia Fox writes of how Catherine went on pilgrimages. She attended mass after mass, and she prayed for hour upon hour. But it was sadly not meant to be, and Catherine never got pregnant again. Now, I often get asked, how many pregnancies did Catherine actually have? Well, we have firm evidence for Catherine experiencing 6 pregnancies. We have on the 31st of January 1510, 33 weeks after her marriage to King Henry VIII, we have record of Catherine giving birth to a stillborn daughter. Just under a year later, on New Year's Day 1511, Catherine gave birth to a son, Henry Duke of Cornwall, who I mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, little Henry died on the 22nd of February, so he was just 52 days old. We don't know how or why he died. On the 17th of September 1513, Catherine gave birth to a son who was either stillborn or who did not survive long. There is a record in the Venetian calendar of state papers that says that the child was alive at birth. A male heir was born to the King of England and will inherit the crown, the other son having died. But we don't know for sure. In November 1514, the Venetian ambassador recorded that the Queen has been delivered of a stillborn male child of 8 months to the very great grief of the whole court. Chronicler Raphael Holinshed also reported this, saying that in November the Queen was delivered of a prince which lived not long after. And John Stowe also recorded it. In the meantime, to wit, the month of November, the Queen was delivered of a prince which lived not long after. Then we have triumph at long last. On the 18th of February 1516, Catherine gave birth to a healthy baby who was, unfortunately for the king, a healthy baby girl. But this daughter would grow up to be Queen Mary I. Then we have the final pregnancy, the one that ended on this day in 1518 with a stillborn daughter. Catherine did her very, very best to provide King Henry VIII with a living Prince of Wales. And it just seems so sad that she did all that, suffered these 6 pregnancies, and only had, one surviving daughter. It's sad that she went through all that only to be cast aside the way she was and to live a very miserable last few years. So, sorry, something bad happened on this day in Tudor history, as is often the way. You can subscribe to this channel by clicking round about there. You can hit the bell to be notified as videos go live, and you can, of course, give me a like as well. I do hope you're enjoying these daily talks. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.